start. At the heart of India's and China's continued inability to make meaningful progress on the boundary issue are four agreements signed in September 1993, November 1996, April 2005, and October 2013 between the two countries. Ironically, India and China keep referring to these agreements as the bedrock of the vision of progress on the boundary question. Unfortunately, these are deeply flawed agreements and make the quest for settlement of the boundary question at best a strategic illusion and at worst a cynical diplomatic parlor trick. Here is how. Para. According to the 1993 agreement on the maintenance of peace and tranquility along the line of actual control (LAC) in the India-China border areas pending an ultimate solution the two sides shall strictly respect and observe the LAC between the two sides. No activities of either side shall overstep the LAC. Para. Further, both the 1993 and the 1996 agreement on confidence building measures in the military field along the LAC say they will reduce or limit their respective military forces within mutually agreed geographical zones along the LAC. This was to apply to major categories of armaments and over various other aspects as well, including air intrusions within 10 kilometers along the LAC. Para. The specification of this phantom LAC as the starting point and the central focus has made several key stipulations and articles of the four agreements effectively inoperable for more than a quarter of a century. In fact, many of the articles have no bearing on the ground reality. Article 12 of the 1996 agreement, for instance, says this agreement is subject to ratification and shall enter into force on the date of exchange of instruments of ratification. It is not clear if and when that happened. Para. Astonishingly, nowhere in the 1993 agreement is there the provision to recognize the existing lines of deployment of the respective armies as they were in 1993. The agreement does not reflect any attempt to have each side recognize the other's line of deployment of troops at the time it was signed. That would have been the logical starting point. If both armies are to respect the LAC, where is the line? The ambiguity over the LAC has brought a prolonged sense of unease and uncertainty and thus exponentially contributed to the military build-up in those areas. The absence of a definition of this line allows ever new and surreptitious advances on the ground. Para. Had the wordsmiths of the 1993 agreement begun the exercise with the phrase pending an ultimate solution, each side shall strictly respect and observe the line of existing control / deployment. Instead of the LAC, it would have been more possible to keep the peace. In such a case, there would have been two existing lines of control on the map one for the physical deployment of the Chinese troops and the other for the physical deployment of the Indian troops. Stop. This would have rendered the areas between the two lines no man's land and would have ensured that the two armies were frozen in their positions. Stop para. In effect, in the eastern sector, where the Chinese have not accepted the loosely defined McMahon line, which follows the principle of watershed, and the western sector, which is witnessing another episodic standoff, the LAC is two hypothetical lines. Stop. The first is what Indian troops consider the extent to which they can dominate through patrols, which is well beyond the point where they are actually deployed and present. Stop. The second is what the Chinese think they effectively control, which is well south of the line they were positioned at in 1993. Stop para. Now consider para 4 in Article 2 of the 2013 Agreement within bracket on border defense cooperation bracket close. Stop. It enjoins the parties to within quote work with the other side in combating natural disasters or infectious diseases within bracket emphasis mine bracket close that may affect or spread to the other side quotation close. Stop. Given this serious intent, how do we read the latest round of fisticuffs and intense physical scrimmage between Chinese and Indian soldiers that left at least 70 Indian soldiers injured and hospitalized in Ladakh? Question mark. It could have exposed some of the Indian soldiers to a local Chinese mutation of COVID-19. Stop. Forget physical distancing. Were they even wearing masks? Question mark. Para. It is in this theatre of the militarily absurd that we should look at the outcome of the attempted exchange of maps in the western sector, where this round of confrontation continues between India and China. Stop. This came after the exchange of maps in the middle sector, where divergences were the least, that is, the existing line and the Chinese and Indian idea of the LAC were more or less the same. Within bracket in 2002 bracket close. Stop. Kanwal Sibal, who was the foreign secretary then, and Wang Yi, the head of the Chinese delegation, met in New Delhi in 2003 for this purpose. Stop. It had been agreed that both sides would exchange maps to an agreed scale on each side's perceptions of the location of the LAC in the western sector. Stop. The idea was to superimpose the maps to see where the perceptions converged and, crucially, where they diverged. Stop. Due to the contentious nature of the sector, it would provide a starting point, not the end point, to discuss how to reconcile divergences presumed to be significant given Chinese military behavior on the ground there. Stop.